As a fun aside, I'd like to imagine all the possible things that would or should have happened after the ending of the story. Apart from discovering a little stowaway of gold, fit to reward everyone with better prospects going forward, it's fun to imagine how society would react to the revelations of their little salvage operation. Anyone who would call them liars that they didn't reach Hyperion and survive a pirate attack would have to contend with a great deal of evidence to the contrary. Bones of creatures long considered extinct, an ornithopter of archaic yet intricate design, engine and hull damage from collision and cannon fire, and a fair sample of real gold bars to show for it. Meanwhile, the consortium would be very interested in the circumstances of board member Barton's disappearance, and whether through the Skyguard or another proxy, would eventually look to Wrath for answers. Wrath himself may have gotten away with an armed Skybreaker airship, but if he means to find employment again, he may have to answer for Barton's loss, or else flee the wrath of the consortium, who would certainly hire other private contractors with their own armed airships, even Skybreakers, to go after him and destroy evidence of their complicity in enabling an attack on civilians. After all, it's not like just anyone can commission and use a Skybreaker. Wrath's pirate life would get a great deal harder. Meanwhile, the journals would help illuminate the details of the Hyperion's first and last voyage, as well as the circumstances leading to its 40-year loss. Together with the group's account, the consortium may be suspected for threatening their associate Grunell and being an accessory to the Hyperion's deadly accident. If they were reeling from near bankruptcy before, they're bound for more pain yet to come. If nothing else, the real surviving members of Grunell's family might finally be given some peace as to how Grunell spent his last days and met his end. Even that they were in his thoughts at the end. Oh, and Matt would still have to make that first Hyperion sighting report and get back to studying for upcoming tests. This time around, there's more to the world mentioned in passing that separates it from our real world. The combination of features are as follows. There's the English Channel Tunnel, plus a tunnel under the Strait of Gibraltar, which we have yet to achieve in real life. We hear of a city called New Amsterdam, which would be the old name of New York before the British took over from the Dutch. There's still a Statue of Liberty, presumably in the same place, and where technology is concerned, in concert with 1930s level airship technology, there's electronic instruments in the form of acoustic altimeters, fictional echolocators akin to an airborne search radar, and the Turing machine which in real life helped crack the German Enigma code circa World War II. Last time, I suppose that the world Airborne takes place in may be one where the United States wasn't founded, and New Amsterdam implies that the British expansion into North America didn't go so far as to take over the real New Amsterdam as founded by the Dutch, and rename it New York. As for the real-life Statue of Liberty, according to the National Park Service, it was conceived as a gift for the United States on behalf of France, by the leader of the French Anti-Slavery Society, Edouard de la Boulaye, an avowed abolitionist and political thinker, and was inspired by the Union victory in the American Civil War and concurrent abolishment of chattel slavery. La Boulaye hoped that such a monument in the United States, gifted as a symbol of freedom from all servitude and oppression, would in turn inspire his fellow French into deposing the monarchy for a democracy. In France, plans for the statue were postponed until the French Emperor Bonaparte III was defeated and deposed by the Prussians in the Franco-Prussian War, and a new, more liberal government was installed. As for the statue in this airborne world, we don't know how slavery, chattel and plantation-based, spread or declined compared to our history. As reference, even by the time of the American Civil War, slavery was declining both in use and in legal sanction, especially in European nations and their colonial holdings. If you buy my supposition that the United States wasn't founded in this alternate world, It would take some work to imagine what kind of geopolitical situation involves a war driven by want of slavery, where the pro-slavery side loses and the abolitionist side gets gifted a statue in North America. However, if history in Europe proceeded roughly similarly to our history, then there may still have been an Emperor Bonaparte III who may have again been defeated by the Prussians, deposed, and the more liberal government installed in his place, such that France becomes a more liberal republic. Maybe another European empire with North American colonies helped end the French imperial power structure, and those who wished to be free of that autocracy gifted the statue afterward. Maybe it was the Dutch that helped. Now, for the infrastructure of the world, the name-dropped English Channel and Gibraltar Strait tunnels can be fascinating if you research the real-life technology required and imagine the kind of world where such feats of engineering are achieved, possibly earlier than in our history. I just can't speak much about it because I'm not so well versed in those things. The idea of a Turing machine is interesting, and there is some real-life background for what it could mean in the airborne world. The closest reference I could figure would be the machine called the Colossus computer, used in Bletchley Park in Britain to decrypt German radio communications during World War II. In story, it's mentioned as proficient for uniquely complex mathematical computations, as a comparison to a character's mathematical prowess, where finding a certain drifting airship is concerned. I can speak less about the actual technology of the computer, and wonder more about the implication as to whether or not there was a German Enigma code for the Colossus computer to help crack. If an equivalent World War II hasn't happened by this point in the airborne world's history, then what incentive would there be to build the computer? Or what significant event would involve the use of decryption on the level requiring one of the first massive computers built? Without a military incentive, the Turing machine might have been conceived to solve a technical problem. While we've seen radios from the previous story, this story showcases much more advanced electronic instruments used for airship operations: an acoustic altimeter as seen on Flotsam, a homing beacon small enough to be concealed in a duffel, and with enough energy to transmit for days on end, and an echolocator that can detect airborne objects via literal echolocation. Any of these devices, just like their real-life equivalents, would rely on a variety of electrical components, complex circuitry and programming, and steady electrical power to function properly, and would require special electrical engineering knowledge to conceive and make the best use of them. Since the most advanced equipment was seen in the hands of agents acting on behalf of the Aruba Consortium, it would make sense for them to leverage their wealth into making such equipment that can help secure their assets, and by extension their wealth. A Turing machine would be quite useful in calculating the optimal specifications and parameters of making and using such technology. Since that technology is not widespread, it's probably kept for exclusive use by the consortium.